Hello and welcome. My name is Leah Kopke. I'm a 3D motion design freelancer, and this is my 3D modeling podcast, Ambient 3D Animations. Today we're going to go through all the settings for the spline mask, as well as how to troubleshoot some potential issues you may run into while using the tool. So let's go ahead and jump into Cinema 4D and get started. Here we are inside of Cinema 4D. Now you can find this tool in a few places. If you hold to click, you'll see all of your generators here, and you'll find your spline mask. You can also find your spline mask over here, where it says create, and if we go down to generator, you'll see your list of generators we've covered in the past: subdivision surface, cloth surface, all of the spline to mesh tools like extrude, lathe, loft, sweep. Today we're going to go over the spline mask. So this is the one for today. I'm just going to use one of these for now. You can use this tool with splines either that you've drawn using the spline pen tool, and I'll leave a link to the episode that goes through all the options for the spline pen and how to use it, as well as all the hotkeys for the spline pen. That will be left in the description below. I'll be using the splines from here. You can also grab splines from here. I'll grab a star and I'll grab a circle. Now, you won't see anything happen until we drop both of these within our spline mask. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And you can see that now they've combined them as one, because our mode is union, and that adds up the splines below it. Now, an important thing to do to make sure that this is working is you need to make sure that your splines are closed, that they are a closed shape in order for this to work. The next thing you'd need to check is if your axis is correct. So right now we are using the XY axis. So let me click away here, and you'll see we have an origin. We have a Y direction, which is green, Z direction that is blue, X direction that is red. Now it's using the XY plane. So if you imagine these two directions creating a plane, that's what's being used as the direction to calculate the spline mask. So imagine that's a table, and these shapes are a piece of paper that are being placed on the table. And we're saying these pieces of paper on this table, which is your axis, your plane, we are choosing union, so we're gluing them together and making one shape together. That's basically what is happening here in 3D with your splines. I'm going to turn on Create Cap, and that basically turns our splines into a polygon for us to see, and that just makes it a little bit easier, I think, for you to see the shapes we're making. I'm going to go under Filter and turn off the work plane. I've heard that that makes it easier for everyone to see what I'm doing on my screen on YouTube, so I'm going to do that. And if we choose something like A subtract B, now we're subtracting one shape from the other. A is what is top in your hierarchy, so that is our circle. And B is the star, so A, the circle, minus B, the star, equals this new shape here. We also have the reverse of that, B minus A. So now we're subtracting the circle from the star, which is the reverse. We could also choose and if I turn off the spline mask for a second, you'll see our two shapes where they overlap. I'll turn this back on. That's the new shape. Or is the opposite. So the parts of the shapes that aren't overlapping are becoming their own separate shapes. So that's or. So you can see this is a shape and this is a shape. I'm going to turn off Create Cap for this next one because it'll be a little bit easier to see that way. Intersection. When we click on that, initially it won't look like anything happened, but it actually did. What it did is it made a shape for the overlapping area. So this one here, the one we made using and. So we have this shape included in the intersection option. We also have the non-overlapping shapes that we had from or, from this or option. But when we choose this one, we just have all three. So we have the outer star part here, we have the overlapping area, and then we have this part here that's not overlapping, that's the circle. So we have all three of those. Now I'm going to change this back to union because I'd like to show you something really cool that you can add in additional shapes here. So I'll add in a flower shape, and I'll add this within our hierarchy. So you can see that now it's making a union of all three. And this spline mask, you can even use other generators with it. So if I go into the Create menu under Generator and we add an extrude, or any one of these spline to mesh generators actually that we've covered, you can place your spline mask within here and then it will extrude it out. So I'm going to take this out of here. There's a couple more things I'd like to just go over really quickly. The first one is what happens when you click the wrong axis. So we talked about it being like the table you use in order to set pieces of paper on to make new shapes out of them. And I find that a helpful metaphor. If we choose the wrong table direction, weird things start happening. Like that doesn't look quite right. This doesn't look quite right. It only works when we choose the XY or the viewport, and then that's just using the camera view. So the camera view also works, but the one that's the most consistent, regardless of where your camera is just selecting this, the one that's the right plane. So I'm just going to choose that for right now. If you'd like to make your spline mask editable, instead of having it be a generator with a bunch of splines in it, if you just want it to be baked down into one spline or one object, you could think of this as if you took several Photoshop layers and rasterized them together or collapsed them together as well. So I'm going to right click on this and you can choose Make Editable. The hotkey for that is C. I'll make it one shape. I'll hit undo. You can also find this button in here. Another option, I'll hit undo again. Another option is if you right click on this and choose Current State to Object. And that will make a copy of your spline mask. So I'll turn off these. And the copy here will be just regular spline object instead of the spline mask. So it kind of collapses it down into one. And if you find that useful for your project, that is how to do it. And that basically covers all of our settings today for the spline mask. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please give me a like. If you'd like to know when more episodes come out, I have another one coming out each week. If you'd like to know when more episodes come out, please hit subscribe and ring the bell so you'll be notified. And thank you so much for taking the time to 3D model with me. I hope to see you here next time on Ambient 3D Animations.